Tonight on the Daily Debrief, this woman faces a possible death sentence over the death of her stepdaughter. The girl's father takes the stand.
Her eyes, she was gone.
He was involved too, but will his testimony be enough for another conviction? Also, sentencing for a cop who shot and killed a stranded motorist. The victim's family calls him a killer.
Good cops are heroes. Nouman Raja is a criminal.
And another delay in the trial of a man accused of killing a family of 4. This is the Daily Debrief. It's Thursday, April 25th. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Debrief. Mike Korobanix, Linda Kenny Bodden. Good to see you both tonight. All right, a Georgia woman facing a possible death sentence for allegedly starving her own stepdaughter to death is taking her life into her own hands and defending herself without a lawyer. Tiffany Moss refused to give an opening statement and is refusing to cross-examine witnesses on charges that she killed 10-year-old Imani Moss. Prosecutors say Moss even burned the girl's dead body to try to hide evidence. Graphic testimony today from the girl's father, Iman Moss. He said he noticed belt whips on his daughter after the defendant punished her. State intervention helped for a little while, but did not ultimately save the girl's life. According to the father, the defendant said Imani died because of a cooking accident.
Say she was cooking something with the pot and she spilled the water on her stomach.
That Imani was cooking?
Imani, yeah. Tiffany said Imani was cooking.
And that she spilled a pot?
Yeah.
Did Tiffany tell you what was in the pot?
No, said hot water.
So when you went home, did you look at your daughter and
Yeah.
What did you see?
She had a skull on the stomach, like a round little skull part on the stomach.
And
on her.
did you say we ought to take her to the doctor?
Yeah, but we didn't. I didn't do it.
So on the 24th, you found her in the bathtub, and did it look to you like Imani was having a seizure?
Best of my knowledge, yes.
I know you're not a doctor,
yeah.
But what did she look like?
She was shaking, like, you know.
Could she speak?
She was trying to say something. She wasn't speaking much. She was just, you know.
Were her eyes moving at all?
They were going from left to right.
So after Tiffany said we can't call the doctor, we can't take her to the hospital, what'd you do with her?
Kept her in the room.
In which room?
In her room.
I mean, did you put her on the floor, or where did you put her?
On a mattress, and on the floor.
Amon, did she ever get up out of that bed?
No, she didn't after the seizure thing. No, she didn't.
According to the father, the little girl stayed in that bed until she died. He assumed the wound was beyond repair, but the defendant also pressured him not to call 911 or even to seek out a doctor.
Did you take her to the doctor then?
I did not take her to the doctor, sir.
Why not?
I really can't explain it. I was trying to fix something. Like I said, you know, I'm not God, but I'm trying to fix something irreversible or beyond repair. What I should have did. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your sentence. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Well, what I should have did was when the incident happened, to call 911, and when I didn't, I put myself in a bad bind, sir.
What was Tiffany telling you about what you needed to do at that point?
She was saying that we can't call 911, we can't do that. We got to hide the body.
Well, why did she tell you that we can't call 911? I mean, you're this child's father.
Because she said, I'm on probation, I don't want to go to jail.
Did she say anything about losing your other children?
Yes.
Testimony, folks. The father says the defendant called him at work to report that his daughter was ultimately dead. When he came home, the defendant was just watching TV with the dead body in the other room.
How did you get the notification that Amani had died?
It was on a Tuesday, I know much one. It was through a phone call.
Right. Where were you when you got the phone
I
call?
was at work.
And did you actually speak to Tiffany, or did you just get a text?
I think I talked to her on the phone.
And what did she tell you?
She said she's gone. She didn't say too much. She said she's gone. So when I came home...
Wait a minute. When you
Okay.
came home, did you leave work?
I did not leave work. Exactly. I couldn't leave work. I left work after I got off. I tried to leave early, but she didn't let me get a half day. So I actually left work on the regular time.
Did you do anything to confirm that she had died?
She was dead.
How could you tell?
I've been in a lot of funerals, and I can tell, she was cold. Her essence was there. Her eyes, she was gone.
What did y'all talk about?
Talking about concealing her death, making it like since she had a history of running away, make it seem like she ran away.
Okay, here the father describes duct taping his daughter's body for transport.
I'm not familiar with rigor mortis, but it done set in, and it was hard to bend the body, and that's where the duct tape came involved in. And at that time, Tiffany is in there in the bedroom with me, helping me do this.
So, when you don't have to be familiar with rigor mortis.
Okay.
Did you have to force her legs to fold?
Yes, sir.
And did you and Tiffany do that together?
Yes, sir.
Did you have to sort of force her arms down by her side?
Yes, sir.
And did you and Tiffany do that together?
Yes, sir.
It seems like it would be difficult for one person to wrap duct tape around the little girl's body. How did that happen?
That is very difficult.
Did Tiffany help you with that?
Yes, she did.
Aman, your daughter's been dead for 3 days now. How difficult was it to get her folded up like that?
Very, very much difficult.
Were there sounds?
Kind of like, I guess, like cracking sound. I can't explain. I don't know what to compare it to. What I'm saying.
And after you got her duct taped together, what happened then?
After that, she helps me, because she's a lot more heavier than she was before. To put her in the lawn bag.
This father admitted that he drove around with his dead daughter's body in his car. Also in the car, his wife and her 2 kids. He said the defendant wanted to bury Amani's body, but that it was his idea to burn it.
I lifted the trash can out. I opened the bag of charcoal and poured it in the tin can.
In the garbage?
The trash can, the tin can. And from that point, she helped me open the bag up where, Imani's body, wrapped up in duct tape. She helped me put her body in the tin can.
Did you put her head up or head down?
Head up.
Did you have to force her into it?
Kind of, yeah.
After you put Amani in that garbage can, what did you do then?
I sprinkled some lighter fluid on the body and on charcoal.
Then what?
And then I took the charcoal and I lighted on fire and I dropped it in the tin can.
So did it start to burn?
It started to flame real big.
So what were you doing at that point?
I was standing out, and I was standing. She was out there with me.
I mean, did y'all say anything, or would you just stand and watch the fire?
As I did it, I couldn't. I really didn't. I turned back. I didn't watch it, and she said, "I can't watch this," and it just burning.
How long did you let it burn?
Not that long. I want to say I let it burn for about maybe 5 minutes, and I put it out.
Why?
Because it wasn't working in the way I thought it was supposed to work.
And what did you think was going to happen?
I know it sounds ridiculous, I'm thinking it's like cremation. I don't know anything about that.
From there, the father smothered the fire and took what was left of his daughter's body to a trash compactor. Joining me tonight, Linda Kenny Bodden and Mike Korobanics, both criminal defense attorneys. Linda, there's a callousness in this testimony, the cracking sound presumably of bones breaking or something like that when he's duct taping up his daughter's body.
Well, the callousness began when he said, I put myself in a bad way. Instead of being able to it's the last time I could save my daughter, I thought about myself first. But I do have to say, Aaron, that people get more upset about what do you do to a body, as we all are, after they're dead. And really, he should have been concerned about his daughter in life, right? And he wasn't.
Okay, he's sitting there saying, Mike, that, okay, well, I didn't call 911. I just assumed that this was beyond repair or something like that. But I'm sitting here trying to make a checklist for legal purposes as to what he did versus what this defendant did, because he's not the one on trial here. He's the one who didn't call the doctor. He helped conceal the body. He transported the body. He bought supplies to burn the body. He said he's the one who actually burned the body because he's the one that came up with the idea to burn the body, and he's the one that primarily disposed of the body. So why is she the one sitting here facing a possible death sentence?
Because she's the one who, according to the testimony, caused the death. He was just more involved in the cover-up. And it seems you need to do more to cover up a crime than just the simple act of killing a young girl, and that's the problem there.
How's the state going to get there, though? Because, he's up there saying, oh, well, this death was the result of the girl grabbing a pot and basically scalding herself in a cooking accident. Is that all a lie?
I think you're going to find that's all a lie, and I think we're going to have to wait and see what the autopsy shows and see exactly where that went.
And Linda's nodding her head in agreement.
Agree.
So we're going to have to wait and see where this goes. A lot more to come. Here is Chief Investigative Correspondent Brian Ross, though, with a look at what's coming up next on Brian Ross Investigates.
Aaron, coming up tonight on Brian Ross Investigates, the worst terror attack since 9/11 raises fears that ISIS is far from dead. The secret weapons their fighters left behind are their children. Plus concerns the Russians are already trying to influence the 2020 presidential election. An exclusive interview with the chair of the Federal Election Commission, Ellen Weintraub. That's tonight on Brian Ross Investigates, Aaron, coming up next.
And still ahead tonight here on the Daily Debrief, an update on the latest testimony in the case of an accused California man who's facing charges that he killed a family of 4, plus sentencing for the Florida cop convicted of gunning down a stranded African-American motorist. We head back inside the courtroom for that case after the break. Gentlemen, testimony is on hold until next week in the McStay family murder case from California due to an attorney's illness. Defendant Charles Merritt is accused of killing business associate Joseph McStay and the entire McStay family. They all disappeared back in 2010. Years later, the graves of all 4 of the McStays turned up in the Mojave Desert. Testimony last night involved defense attacks on the state's theory that the defendant's truck was in the McStay neighborhood around the time of the murders. These are enhanced pictures that the state says show the defendant's truck. The defense says differences between the truck seen in the area here and the defendant's actual truck make it clear that the state evidence here does not point to defendant Chase Merritt. Convicted Keller cop Nouman learned his fate today. Florida jurors agreed that Raja was guilty of manslaughter by culpable negligence and attempted first-degree murder with a firearm. Raja shot and killed a stranded African-American motorist named Corey Jones while on overnight patrol. Raja was in an unmarked van and was not wearing a uniform when he asked Jones if he needed help. The conversation escalated and ended in Jones's death just seconds after the talk started. At today's sentencing hearing, a number of the victim's relatives spoke out, including his uncle.
Nouman Raja's role in law enforcement should absolutely be considered when deciding his sentence. Some would ask that you extend him the respect and courtesy earned by the brave men and women who wear the badges of law enforcement. Good cops are heroes. Nouman Raja is a criminal. According to the evidence, he aborted his mission to respond to a fellow officer in need of assistance and instead chose to confront Corey Jones and kill him for no reason. Afterwards, he lied and conspired to cover up his crime and blame the victim. Just as we trust teachers with our children, doctors with our families, and pastors with our souls, we trusted Nouman Raja to protect and serve citizens in the community. His fellow officers trusted him to respond when they needed him. His family trusted him to be a good and righteous man who would not abandon them. Instead, Nouman Raja betrayed us all. He hunted down an innocent man and killed him. He ruined the lives of Corey Jones's family as well as his own. And still, he shows not an ounce of remorse.
Defendant Nouman Raja's wife directly addressed the victim's family.
A few days after the verdicts came out, I was reading the news. There was a picture of Mr. Jones' brother and I believe his aunt. They were hugging in the hallway right outside the courtroom. His smile was jubilant. It was genuine, warm. I was so taken back by his happiness that I smiled at his happiness. But on that same breath, I tasted every tear that my children have cried over this. I am now the single mother of 2 small children, one of which is a special needs child, both of whom are suffering beyond reparability. I don't have a movement behind me. I don't have a congregation. I don't have aunts. I don't have uncles. I don't have brothers. I don't have sisters. As a matter of fact, I don't have a single blood relative in this room. I have my husband, a man who was faced with a split-second decision, something that neither you nor I, nor most people in this room will thankfully have to face. I also know that the future of 2 innocent children linger in the lenience of this court. Their lives are forever changed, forever scarred. Please use any discretion you might have to help our family heal these wounds.
Raja could have been given up to a life sentence for the attempted murder conviction and up to 30 years on the lesser count. Here is what the judge decided.
This has been a heartbreaking case. I think it's had a profound effect on every single person that has sat through this trial, including very experienced lawyers who this is not their first rodeo. I can't put my finger on it. I can't tell you exactly why, but as the judge who's been a judge for 16 years and a prosecutor and sat in every seat in this courtroom, this case had a profound effect upon me. And I'm hoping that going forward that people can have some peace in their lives. And I know for the Raja family, that's in some ways impossible. Every single case where I sentence somebody to a lengthy prison sentence, the worst criminal where I'm not really losing any sleep, is still heartbreaking. Why? Because Ted Bundy could be sitting in this courtroom today, and in the back of the courtroom, I would see a little old lady crying and go, "Why are you here?" Well, that's my son. Because every single defendant that comes before me is somebody's son, somebody's daughter, somebody's father. And although sometimes they get just what they deserve, it's still heartbreaking to see their families in that position. On the other hand, sometimes defendants commit a crime. A very, very diligent jury has found the defendant guilty on both counts, and I know Mr. Lubin disagrees and I'll accept whatever happens later on. But that's what I'm left with here. As I've already adjudicated Mr. Raja previously, on count 1, I hereby sentence him to 25 years in the Department of Corrections. And on count 2, I hereby sentence Mr. Raja to 25 years in the Department of Corrections. That is as a minimum mandatory, which was required that he serve day for day. Those sentences will run concurrently.
Back to the panel for some analysis on this case here. Mike, a fair sentence, what do you think?
I think it was, I don't know. I really don't know, but I think that tape of that judge should be sent to many judges because he showed the compassion and the difficulty. It's easy to sit somewhere removed, but he showed how difficult it is to sentence somebody.
He did, but you know, it bothered me when he was talking about how hard this is for the defendant's family. What about the victim's family, Linda?
Well, I think he showed how hard it is for the victim's family by giving him the 25 years that he has to serve, 1 for 1 he has to serve every day. And part of the problem you have here is we thought, or I thought, that the victim's family gave an amazing statement.
I agree.
Mark Johnson was amazing. This is not about hate. I think the wife, who I know is hurting because her kids are a victim too, but she gave more of an arrogant statement, and I think that also hurts. And so he's going to say, now, I'm going to ignore that. I recognize your pain, and that's a good judge.
Mike, I think the uncle gave one of the 2 best victim impact statements I have ever seen, and I've watched dozens upon dozens of them. You've probably seen hundreds upon hundreds of them.
It was moving, and just like Linda said, it was just fair. That's the only word I can think. It was fair. It was moving.
It was articulate, it was accurate, and it made logical sense. And when we're addressing a judge, they're more interested in the logic than necessarily they are about the emotion, because that's not something that a judge can control. Linda Kenny Bodden, Mike Korobanix, appreciate the insight tonight on the debrief on both of these cases. We'll see you next time. And we'll see those of you who are watching along with us next time as well. Of course, the debrief is live here on the Law&Crime Network from 5 until 5:30 Eastern. Our live trial coverage, however, begins in the morning at 9 a.m. Eastern and runs until 5. Have a good night. Brian Ross Investigates is next here on Law&Crime.